for another Gab with Abigail. If you aren't back and this is your first time on my channel, hi, welcome to Gabs with Abigail, where we talk about the Bates and Duggars and other D-list fundies. Today we are talking about the ongoing Joshua Duggar, I wouldn't say trial, I guess it's conviction now. He's going to prison. But in the last 2 or so days, the prosecution and the defense have released basically their statements, their petitions about how much sentencing time they want to get. So the defense is asking for 5 years. Yes, I said 5 years, babe. 5 years. And the prosecution is asking for the max time of 20 years, as they should. If you haven't read the documents that they produced, I actually haven't finished reading the defenses yet. I just kind of focused on the letters, in which that's what we're going to talk about in this video, that people wrote, like the character letters that people wrote. But I read the prosecutions and just, I was like, yeah, this is why you should be going to prison for 20 years, like pretty much. But the focus of this video is we're going to react to Michelle Duggar's statement. Maybe if we have time, Anna and David's. If we don't have time in this video, then I'll save it for another one. So let's just read it and let's talk. Let's chat about what Michelle Duggar had to say to the judge about her son. Hello, I'm writing this letter in regards to the sentencing of my son, Joshua Duggar. My heart is to share some things about Joshua's character that may not be fully known to the court. It is my sincere hope these things are taken into consideration as a fair and just sentence is determined. Leading up to this sentencing day, I want to make clear that Joshua has friends and family who will love and support him in his abilities to succeed as a husband, father, business owner, and man, both now and in the future, ! I want to make clear that Joshua has friends and family who will love and support him in his abilities to succeed as a husband, father, business owner, and a man now and in the future. I mean, yeah. Do you think that people didn't know that there had constantly been a team, an army of people coddling, supporting, and enabling his behavior? I don't understand why this had to be in the letter, babe. Are you telling, why does the judge need to know that? I'm pretty sure he knows that, right? I'm pretty sure he knows that there is a child of 19 has a large group of people praying, hoping, and advocating for him as you're sitting down and writing this letter, even though he's committed an egregious crime, right? There has always been a team of people around him supporting him, doing just this, and it still has produced the same fucking behavior. What's different about this, Michelle Duggar, than any other time? That's what we want to hear in the letter. What's going to be different so that we should release him in 5 years that you felt you needed to include this statement? I understand. What standards are going to be different from these people, these friends and family who love and support him in his abilities to succeed as a husband, father, and business owner? When haven't they been doing that? What have they been doing wrong? Why is it y'all's fault? I don't get why the judge needs to know that. What makes that special? You've been doing it, and we see what it produces for 34 years. If you want to count back from when the crime started, for 22 years, you've been doing it. Joshua has a tender heart, and he is compassionate towards others. If someone is having a difficult time, he is one of the first to encourage or try to help them in a tangible way. He and his wife and children have helped many by doing cleaning and repair projects and lending a helping hand. What does it have to do with him being a CSM possessor, watcher, viewer? Joshua has always been a positive and upbeat person. He is wise financially, saving money for the future and purposing not to go into debt. Like, this is the weirdest things to be like describing for someone who's going to prison for having child sexual abuse material in their possession. Like, I'm confused about why the judge should be lenient because he's financially wise and doesn't have any debt. Like, you know what, Judge? If Joshua was one of those kids who had gone to college and was racking up a ton of debt and asking Joe Biden to forgive his debt, then maybe you could send him to prison. But not our Josh. Not our Joshy. Like, what the does this mean, bitch? He's a good provider for his family, working diligently and thinking of creative ways to support and take care of his wife and children. He is also generous and shares his resources with others in need. One example of his heart to help others is that Joshua has been giving financial assistance to a widow friend of ours for several years. Well, you know who could afford it? You know who has the bankroll? Jim Bob Duggar, who has paid for the lawyers. So I feel like you guys have the money to take this over. So I don't know why the judge has to consider this. Like, thank you, Josh, for having a good, kind heart to do that for a grown-ass woman. I'm glad that you didn't think about her sexually and therefore were willing to pay. On a personal level, Joshua is an organized and diligent individual. Oh, we know that, babe. We know that, babe. We saw how he laid out all the evidence, how he laid out all the things that he needed to do to download this material. Actually, the prosecution did a great job of they did a great job of saying just this, that actually he was diligent and organized and premeditated on how he was going to access this material. He was diligent because he knew he was going to need to hide it. It was going to need to be a secret. You're right about that, sis. But I'm reading this, I'm like, yeah, probably going to prison for a long time. He has set a good example of applying himself eagerly to his work. But the prosecution said it. Yeah, he did. Eagerly. Been a good example. And in many other responsibilities that he carries as a husband and father. Yes, because he did have to do all of that so that he could hide this kind of stuff from his wife and his children. Joshua is a loving and patient man, striving to be a blessing and provide for his family. He also spent quality time with his wife and children, learning life skills together and going on family outings. It's just, side by side, Joshua and his family have built forts, learned how to work on bicycles and other vehicles, gone camping, hiked, fished, and played countless games and sports together. And you know who didn't get to do any of these things, I'm sure, who didn't get to enjoy the richness of this kind of freedom and feeling, are the kids that he watched get abused on camera for his sexual satisfaction. So really, please miss me with this shit that he is a good father. His kids need him. His wife needs him. If he were any of those things, if those things mattered to him, he would not have been doing what he was doing. He would have sought help. If those were all of these things, if that's all that Josh's character is, if he didn't have all these people enabling him, seeing this in him, when clearly you see, obviously you can't see, but everybody else sees the real filth of who he is. That you could do all of this and that you can't realize, like, no, this isn't him being virtuous. It's actually him being a duplicitous person, bitch. It's him playing the line, right? It's him telling the line, playing the part, and really whole time he is a whole big ass sicko that you've enabled, that you knew about, that you had in your house on countless occasions. And just the fact that as I look to his return, I stand ready to offer my continued love and encouragement to Joshua and his family and for their success in the future together. We ask that he be reunited with his wife and family in a timely manner. I don't understand this. I stand ready to offer my continued love and encouragement. As a judge, would that make you feel good? Oh, so like this, again, this idea that the same people are going to continue to encourage him the exact same way, to enable him the exact same way. There isn't going to be any change in the behaviors of the people around him. Like, to some extent, obviously, yes, these are the individual choices of Joshua Duggar. These are the individual actions of Joshua Duggar. But you cannot tell me that this kind of shit doesn't enable him to continue to do it. That there is always somebody who is willing to say, I'm going to forgive you. Honey, you are not God. You are not Jesus. We are called to forgive, but we are called to remember that we are not, while we try to be Christ-like, we will never be him. We will never be his perfection. We will never be his immaculate goodness. So how dare you decide you need to extend this to this one boy in this manner? You need to have what's called boundaries, honey. Joshua needs to go to prison. He did this to his own family and needs to deal with the repercussions of that. You weren't willing and able to save him then, and you can't do it now. And I'm tired of this. And the fact this idea that, and nowhere in this does it acknowledge that there are real victims involved in this. Josh is not the victim. His family, they are not the victims. Are they going to suffer from his choices? Absolutely, right? But they are not the victims in this. They're going to suffer because of him, but they are not the victims in this. When it comes time, unless he has in fact been abusing his children, but they are not the victims in this. When it comes time to listening to the trial and things like that, do you know who had tragic memories of what happened? Your daughters, not Joshua Duggar. And so I'm just real tired of this kind of behavior from the Duggars. Like, just absolutely abhorrent. And just the fact that he's going, like the continued mention of his children, that he needs to be back with his wife and his kids. 4 of whom are daughters. 4 of whom are under the age of 5, I believe, or 5 and under of those daughters, right? And he's watching sexually explicit material that includes the abuse of children his children's age. He needs to go to prison. He does not need to be around his kids. He deserves to be in jail for at least 10 years just to protect his children. And you can't see that because you want to believe that he's innocent, that he didn't do this. You know he did it. You know he did. In your heart of hearts, you know he did. This goes against everything that you've been raised in terms of justice, that he should, like, the mentioning that he needs to be back around his children. If I'm the judge, I'm like, oh, you're right, babe. He does have all those damn kids at home. Lock him up. Oh, you're right, babe. He does have all those nieces and nephews. Lock him up. You know what I mean? The fact that 99% of the Duggar granddaughters are like 5 and under. 99% of them. The only granddaughter who is above the age of like 6, I want to say. They have a lot of grandkids. I can't off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure Meredith is only like 5. Is Mackenzie. She is the only one, and she is still in a prepubescent. Actually, no, I'm sorry. She's probably pubescent at this point. She's about 12, because she's starting her puberty phase. But like, what about those kids? Why does he need to be around them? What do you think? Because they're family? That he's not going to abuse them? As if that wasn't a line he wasn't willing to cross before? Like, how do you look at your other children and invite them over to the house and say that you're comfortable with him being around them? Like, if I'm Ginger out in California, no, the fuck I'm not bringing my daughters around Josh. I don't care how much supervision there is. No, I'm not. 99% of your kids, your granddaughters, are under the age of 6. That's insane to me. But yes, let him out as soon as he can to be back with his wife and children. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you, Your Honor, for taking these thoughts into consideration. We implore your wisdom for a just decision in this matter. Thank you for your time. Respectfully, Michelle A. Duggar. The way she signed this bitch, okay? With the heart over the I. Honey, what are you, 12? Mother of 19. Her white has the most basic signature I've ever seen. You grew up in the 70s, babe. in the 80s, shouldn't you have learned cursive? I learned cursive. This is why she did homeschooling. She was like, yeah, the public schools are trash. We get it, sis. Like, this is the most, like, it would be so easy to fraudulently copy her signature. Like, the heart over the I. And if you're somebody who dots a heart over your I and you're over the age of 16, it's time to grow up, babe. I'm sorry. This is probably the signature that she had when she got married at 17 and just never changed it and just never grew up out of it. I get it. I always all the time want to change my signature, but I'm just like, I'm so comfortable with it. But girl, what? Just absolute garbage, trash, pretty much. Just as a mother, as a grandmother, I don't understand this. You know what he did. You know he needs to go to jail. You know that he needs counseling. I guess they don't know, right? And it's just the way that this in no way acknowledges that he committed a crime that hurt other people. In their initial statement about the trial, they said, we want the truth to come out, and we're going to accept that, whatever that truth may be. The truth came out, and you're still in denial about it. You're still you lied, pretty much. You've been lying about Josh for years, for decades. Not even just for years, for decades. At what point do you have your own complicity in this? At what point do you acknowledge that you're a part of the problem? At what point do you take responsibility? And that's the problem. And this is why, again, why the Duggars, yes, are in a cult. They're a part of a cult. That IBLP was and probably still, in fact, is a cult. Because that is such a thing about cults, is how to get off. How do you admit, because it's just a fundamental part of human nature. How do you admit you were wrong? Nobody likes to be wrong. How do you admit that I got it wrong? I did all of this for my kids thinking I knew better, and I got it wrong. I got it super duper wrong. And they refused to do that, right? Oh, all the other kids turned out fine, right? But I guess I will save that for the Josh and Anna video, which I know I say every freaking week is coming out. Like, I promise. I was like, I'm almost done with the script, and this happened. And I was gonna like stay up all night to finish it. But this I read this today, and I was like, are you dead ass, man? Am I being punked? I got, honest to God, no joke, I thought that this was fake when I saw the signature. I was like, somebody wrote this and signed it as how they thought Michelle Duggar would sign it, because it's just such a childish signature. Like, I dead ass thought it was fake until I saw like other people posting it, that there were other letters. Like I said, I hadn't read the defense's part of this whole thing. I had just read the prosecution's. I am in shock. But yeah, that's it for this letter, for this video. I want to say, let's make these short. Let's do Anna's next. And also David Waller wrote one. He is a unique piece of work. Because again, just somebody who's very, very deep into the Fundy Kool-Aid, I want to say the Fundy Kool-Aid, is very deep in IBLP, like, yes, drinking the Kool-Aid. Him and his wife, and just even how they're intertwined with Anna and Josh's relationship. It's nuts. But that's it for this episode.
Let's go. It's like, you niggas gotta stop acting weird. You niggas gotta stop acting weird. You niggas gotta stop acting weird.